Fiat's stirring up the automotive world with talks of introducing new models to the US market. Can you believe it? After only managing to move a mere 65 cars across the entire country last year, they're revving their engines for another go. That's less than 2 cars per dealer, mind you. Talk about a daunting challenge. Originally, they pinned their hopes on the Fiat 500e, the electric version. But let's be real, Italian cars and electrical systems? Not the most reassuring combo, right? The head of Fiat branding in the US seems hopeful, hinting at the possibility of more models. But let's face it, even if they brought an entire fleet, it might not make a dent. Their reputation isn't exactly top tier. Remember when they made waves a few years back, selling like hotcakes? Now, barely sizzling. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Perhaps it's time for Fiat to hit the road again. And then there's Tesla, always making headlines. Rumor has it, they're scrapping the budget-friendly Tesla, priced at $225,000 or less. Elon's not too happy about it, calling it fake news. But where there's smoke, there's fire, right? Elon's initial plan was to start high and then transition to more affordable models. But it seems the Chinese competition might be throwing a wrench in the works. They're dubbing it the Model 2, yet insiders suggest it might not even see the light of day. Elon's taking to Twitter, accusing Reuters of spreading falsehoods. But let's not forget, Reuters got the scoop straight from the source. So, who's really pulling the wool over whose eyes? And what about Elon's fixation on robotaxis? He's doubling down like it's the next big thing. But let's get real here, folks. We're not living in a sci-fi fantasy. Robotaxis are dropping like flies, and self-driving tech? Well, let's just say, there's a reason trains stick to their tracks. Because, let's face it, trains stick to their tracks for a reason. They've got engineers at the helm, making sure things stay on course. But this whole self-driving, robotaxi business? It's like something out of a sci-fi flick. Elon's been watching too many movies, imagining taxis chauffeuring themselves around like something out of Total Recall. And sure, that movie's set on Mars, but Elon's got his sights set on interplanetary travel with his rockets. Talk about living in a dream world. But reality's starting to catch up at Tesla. The cracks are showing, and Elon's scrambling to keep the facade intact. Quality control's already a headache with their pricey rides. Imagine the chaos if they started churning out cheap ones. The wheels would literally be falling off. And now, he's backpedaling, denying left and right that he ever said they're scrapping the $25,000 car. Classic Elon, promising the moon and delivering dust. Meanwhile, his own employees are spilling the tea to the press, saying one thing while he's singing a different tune. Must be all that Martian air getting to him. But speaking of topsy-turvy, the world's been doing some acrobatics of its own lately. California, known for earthquakes and droughts, is suddenly swimming in rain, with highways collapsing left and right. And here on the East Coast, we're getting shaken up by earthquakes, of all things. Not exactly the usual script for this part of the country. And speaking of surprises, Colorado's offering tax breaks for electric bicycles. Go green, save some green, right? It's all part of their grand plan to meet environmental goals. Who would have thought? So, while Elon dreams of Mars and California swaps earthquakes for floods, the world keeps spinning, throwing us curveballs left and right. So, they're handing out tax rebates for electric bicycles now. Sounds green, right? Well, hold your horses. Who's riding electric bikes? Mostly folks who already ride regular bikes. But here's the kicker. Switching from pedaling to electric means you're trading muscle power for electricity. And where does that electricity come from? You guessed it, pollution. So, in a weird twist, these incentives might actually be adding to the problem rather than solving it. It's like trying to put out a fire with gasoline. Sure, going electric with cars can cut down on emissions to some extent. But with bikes, you're going from zero pollution to some pollution. Plus, there's the whole manufacturing process of those electric components, which adds to the environmental footprint. So much for going green. Huh? Maybe they should have put more thought into this before rolling it out. And speaking of rolling, let's talk about old people's cars. Remember the Crown Vics, the Grand Marquises, the big old Cadillacs? They're a dying breed. These days, it's all about SUVs. So, what's Grandpa supposed to drive now? Times are changing, and it seems like the automotive industry forgot about the silver-haired crowd. Maybe it's time for Washington to step in and bring back those classic cruisers. And if you're thinking about going solar, hold off for now. China's flooding the market with panels, driving prices way down. Some say they'll be even cheaper in a couple of years. So why rush? Let the prices drop even more. And here's a tip. Put those panels on fences instead of roofs. Less hail damage, more efficiency. Just wait for the prices to fall, and then go green. And hey, if you want to catch more of my car repair tips, don't forget to hit that bell icon.